It is July 17th, Thursday at 10 a.m., 2025. And we're going to go through some of the things for Nidhogg Week 3. Now, before I start yapping, the absolute most importance of this entire phase is memory check. Remember what you are, what you have to do, and then while you are doing it, can you multitask your mitts, your rotation, and stuff like that. So we're gonna go through each and every part of the first, second, and third in line, but on top of it, catching some of the nuances for each of those mechanics, and then on top of that, some of the many mistakes players make when they're going through Nidhogg. So the first things first, after some autos, you are going to get numbers first. This is very important that numbers come before arrows to pre-position, because in the event that you do not get an arrow, you are going to follow your pre-position spots. So for when I say pre-position, this is what I mean. There should be a 1 and a 3 pair on west, 1 and 3 pair on east, 1 and 3 pair on south. And then there should be a left-right pair up north. Now, this is, once again, this only matters if you do not have arrows in the combination of your number partners. So after this, you are just following the preposition and memorizing your preposition and what your job is and how you need to catch towers. So it's definitely a memory check. I also want to add here that I find that a lot of people, when I go through DSR with some of my friends and even my static and even teaching it, that the main thing people find is actually simming. Simming this fight just makes it so that you can just do the mechanic without having to second guess yourself, without having to hesitate. And that will put you in an advantage during prog and will allow you to kind of speed run some of the mechanics. But that's just what everybody has said to me. In this lecture, I have the Google Doc where I highly recommend this simming. It is a Google Drive, so you do need a compatible computer that is able to set up this and just be able to practice. And I just recommend practicing simming maybe 10 minutes each day, or 20 minutes, just so you can get, and then knowing your weakness in the sim. So when I was doing this, my weakness was 2. I could do 1 and 3 permutations pretty well, but 2, there's just a little bit of extra nuance that you just have to rememberize. So first, we want to talk about right after is Lash and Nash. So how I remember Lash is get in, and it's using the hitbox of this Nidhogg. Lash, I always think of Lash inside is 4 letters, and Nash in is out because it's bigger. It's out of letters. I know that sounds really terrible, but that's how I've memorized it. Anyways, the main thing about Lash and Nash, it only happens twice, and it always happens, like, even though the cast bar finishes, it doesn't happen right away. That's where it trips people the most. It doesn't. It's like the boss is stalking the attack, and this is very common in some of the fights that you see in Savages, where they're stalking. In P8S, they stalk Octaflare or Tetraflare. That he's just stalking the next move, and so you just have to remember it while he's stalking it. So Lash and Nash was in then out, Nash and Lash out then in.
And that stock is pretty oppressive because the timing is a little bit after whatever towers are happening. Like if it's in first and you are in his hitbox, and you're in his hitbox when the Casper finishes and you back out immediately, you're taking that hit.
Yeah.
So it does not, the actual damaging snapshot does not align with that cast bar. It is a few seconds afterwards. So
And,
it is, you
yeah.
have to react to it pretty much every time.
Yeah. And the Lash and Nash, like I guess the stack marker and the towers fall happen in the same time first, then the in and out. So it's really, really important that when you are placing towers, especially ones and threes, twos we don't, we have a specific spot for you. There is a specific spot, and I'm just gonna pull on my second screen here. That there's a specific spot here. It's really tiny, but you want to be on the boss's ring. And when I say boss's ring, and I know that the south of the boss, the butt of the boss, doesn't have a ring, but you just still need to connect the dots and try and place your tower in there. And the reason why it's in the middle is that, you know, you're not dodging Lash and Nash first. You're placing your tower, then you dodge it. This is super important so that players don't get like a slither of health when they're catching a tower. And this is one of the very first mistakes that people have when they're doing this, is that when they're 1 and 3, they always need to just remember to place their tower first, then resolve Lash and Nash or Nash and Lash, any one of those in and outs. So just be very mindful that Lash and Nash is a stock, and placing 1 and 3s always must place their tower on the ring and then dodge the stock attack. So going back to what does these debuff mean, okay? So this is the caveat of this fight. If you see any of the arrows, they become king. What I mean by that is that you respect them no matter what you pre-positioned, no matter how you guys pre-positioned earlier. That doesn't matter anymore. You have to follow the rules of the road, and you have to follow the rules of these arrows. So if you have an up arrow, you are always going to go east, because we're doing West Hog. We're not doing East Hog. We're not in Europe. The upward arrow will allow the towers to drop in front of you. We're explaining the mechanic, but if you remember that up arrow goes to Charlie or east or whatever, you will be set, and you don't have to stop hitting the boss. It is placing the tower in front of your tune that you're facing, so you can keep hitting the boss. You don't lose downtime. The downward arrow means that you have to place the tower behind your tune, so your tune has to turn around and face 3 or face west. This is why it's called, the mechanic strat is called West Hog. And you're going to place your tower behind you. So it's very important that downward arrows favors the 3 or the west side and turns around. The people with downward arrows are the only one losing uptime. It's super important. As soon as that debuff counts to 3, 2, 1, you're turning around. And some players can do AoEs to prevent them from moving. Some players can, but they can still hit the boss. Like, I know that white mages can holy and whatnot, but some players can't. So they just need to, do a GCD, turn around. And when you are doing this for the very first time, and you're flicking your controller, or you're flicking your A or whatever west button, or your mouse, or however you want to turn your tune around, I would just advise, it's a downtime mechanic, and we really can't fail this one. Especially whoever has downward arrows is the harder part of this fight. Just target yourself. You can see your target nipple, your own tune's target nipple, and see where they're facing. And if you're pointing at 3, fantastic. You successfully will do the mechanic as soon as the tower comes up. So it's just important that while everyone's doing the DPSing, you are just completing the mechanic, and that becomes priority for clearing this phase. Because I've seen so many people, I forgot, I greeted a GCD, and then we've wiped to the mechanic. Downward arrows, the mechanic has to be favored over your rotation, over the GCD, because at the end of the day, you want to get to phase 4, right? At the end of the day, you want to clear this fight. You can talk about min-maxing and optimizing when you cleared, getting the big colorful numbers, but when you are starting to learn this phase, respect the arrows, respect the countdown, and turn around and look at yourself. Very important to do that. Now, another thing that trips people up that I really want to point out, you see how the ones have arrows in this iteration? Well, there's one person that doesn't have aerial, and that guy, he's south. Automatically, no question asked. So, this is important for you to know that you must not only pay attention to your debuff, but you need to pay attention to the other number in your group. So if you're ones, you look at ones. If you're threes, you look at threes. If you're twos, you look at twos, right? Which is pretty self-explanatory. But the point is that, oh, I've seen a lot of people pre-position east not realize that their group has arrows, which they have to respect it. But then I have two ones on east, one's following the arrows, one not realizing that one have aerials, and bam, you have two towers dropped in on top of each other, and both players die, and then it is ensured a wipe. So very important while you are looking at. So numbers will come out first, always, and then the boss does another cast. I think Die from Grace is when he actually applies arrows. Now the funny thing about this, he can actually do two sets of arrows, but not three. So he can apply arrows to 3 and 1. He can apply arrows to 3 and 2. He can apply arrows on 3 and 1 and 2. Sorry, but he cannot do all 3 lines. He can't apply arrows to 2, 3, and 1. That is just something that you just dodge the mechanic of arrows because he can't do all 3. That is just, but there is a possibility that, let's say, 1s and 2s have arrows. So just because 1s have arrows doesn't mean that 2 doesn't have arrow. And if you're a 2, just double check. Double check. It is. So while this is going, we're going to talk about individually what each role first in line do's. Now that we talked about the nuances of arrows and stuff like that, so let's just go through 1, and then I'll go through 2, and then I'll go through 3. Tomato. So 1s will drop towers first, then we'll dodge the in and out, because remember, these towers and stacks will go off first before Lash and Nash. So they'll drop towers, dodge in and out, then they'll catch 2 towers. So they should be coming to. So they drop towers. They're dodging. This is Lash first. Okay, so you're just looking at the 1s right now. We're not really paying attention to any one of them. And this is where I really don't like the toolbox for this. They just kind of stay here. They should be going out. Right? They should be going north. Your default position to get out of the way, to be safe, is always this northern position. So that's, I again, don't super love that, but that's okay. So just imagine all the players are actually dodging in and out and going north at the same time. As soon as the 2s drop their towers, 1s, this is important. Only 1 east and 1 west will catch the 2 towers east and west. So the 2s drop their towers, the 1s come in and look at their beautiful downward arrow. We already know that's the west guy. He's going to touch the west tower and bait. When you catch a tower, it is always important to just wait, take a pause, and wait for the bait. I don't know, I'm skipping too fast. Sorry. Let's 2 top towers, 1s drop a tower, and pre-position early. So this is important as well, is that when do I know when I baited the clone successfully spawned after I catch the tower? Is when the clone turns to you. They will always drop and kind of face south for some reason, like Nidhogg. They'll just copy Nidhogg, and they will turn around when you're catching them. And as soon as you know that they turned around, they'll lift up their weapon and they'll start glowing. That's when you know you need to get the hell out of there. You're going to, after you, what's up?
You can check for a raised spear, you can check for a glow, and every clone that spawns on a tower appears in the enmity list. It has a cast bar.
It does have a cast bar. Yeah. You can do the double check of looking at the cast bar, but I get too confused with the cast bar, so I just look at the clone. If the clone is turning to me and doing its animation, it's locked on to me. I can get out of dodge and stay safe. after you catch your tower, you are going to do the stack. So after you bait your line AoE successfully, and again, I don't love this iteration of the toolbox, but you should be getting ready as soon as you can to stack. And the reason why you want to stack, the most important reason why you really want to stack, is that the boss will target you. He won't target the threes because they're going to do their job. He will target ones or twos. And if you are just not in the stack, guess what? You're just dead. You're just gone. So we don't know who he will target for the stack. But it's very important that the first and second stack, the first stack he won't target the ones. Just FYI, he won't target the one players everywhere anytime. But the second stack he can target the one. So it's very important to be ready to get into the stack right after you bait your Gareth Grugel. I've seen so many people kind of linger outside. Oh, I finished my job. I soaked my tower. I baited my cleave, and now they're just kind of out in Narnia, right? They dodged their cleave, and then bam! Nidhogg was like, oh, you thought you were done? And then they just died to the stack. I've seen that happen so many times. And again, I really don't love this iteration of where the raid tool planner does, because you should get ready to stack as soon as you are baiting that. And you should, and where's all the stack is always going to be on the butt of Nidhogg, which will be north. Always true north, no question asked. Now, the ones
it won't be the butt of Nidhogg. We'll be right in front of him.
Right in front of him. Sorry. It depends actually where the boss is facing with the tank, wherever the tank is going. So after the stack, you do in and out. But remember, the one south has a final job. The one south will take the third south tower. So they'll take the third inline south tower because the other two has done their job. So this is where it's a little bit different from for some people. You'll do the in and out, and then you'll soak that last tower. When you are soaking the third set here, do know that you want to be doing, you will do dodge in, then out, then towers. The second formation, let's say it's in, for example, will go off as the towers needed to be soaked. So you kind of have to be inside your tower and while the second one is going off, or you'll miss it completely. That's the snapshot. Then bait. So one's pretty simple. We'll review that again. They drop towers, they dodge in and out, they stack, then they catch towers, then they stack again. Then get ready. The south will go do in and out, and once again, drop, catch the south tower. Make sense?
And I don't know why the toolbox has.
I know,
terrible.
terrible.
Well, not even that one.
Terrible.
The position for the people baiting is much. Go back to slide 19.
Sure.
The
this is so far out.
Position. This is incredibly far out. If there's one thing to know if you're doing this in PF is that you cannot trust the other people you are with to be in the position they need to be.
Or static.
So these positions are incredibly far out, and if someone was still like hovering around middle, they're taking this bait from you. So you want to be as close as you are comfortable to the Nidhogg clone, which does line up perfectly with the pillar that's on your tower that you see. That is the center. That's going to be the center, like the center hitbox of the Nidhogg clone.
Yes.
So you can use that to position yourself to be as close as you can to bait that clone. Because if you are far out, I guarantee you someone is hovering around middle where they're not supposed to be. You're sending that straight through middle, and it's going to kill people, and it's a wipe.
So this is the most interesting part of the Nidhogg baits as well. This is just an extra caveat tip, and I love the programming on this. If two people are in that hitbox or that tower, let's just say, and it doesn't matter who's the closest, actually. It will check, oh, two people are in, it will randomly pick one person that is in there. It doesn't, I've had it where a couple times a melee was just too close, and I was just right on that pillar, There was no way that melee was on the pillar, but it shows the melee, and it really determines. It just checks who's in the pillar. Oh, and then it's a 50-50 gamble. So if you do not want to bait, this is something that you want to know. You just gotta get out of that hitbox of those clones as fast as you can, because it will pick you. Because God knows your RNG is terrible, and it just picks the people that are inside, and it's random. It's not like I'm hugging that pillar as quick as tight as I could, and it still will lock on to the poor player that didn't want it, and that's cleaving right through middle because they didn't get out the tower too late. So that's also something to note about these silly towers, is that it does have a moment where it checks who's in the hitbox and then locks onto a player for those cleave baits. So 4-2. So we're gonna go back. We're gonna look at 2. I'm gonna ignore all the other players. Look at 2. 2 pre-position, fantastic. And if you remember, with 2 pre-positions, downward arrow. It's the same thing if you get arrows. The downward arrow will be near the 3 side or west side, and the upward arrow will be. I could do like elusive and spiral, spine shadow, but I don't want to call those debuff. I'm just going to call them downward and upward, right? So upward arrow will be closer to Charlie here. So just know that that matters as well. So when you're placing your first order business, and I fucking hate this, and you're gonna love this, that you're supposed to stack when you're hitting the boss. This doesn't look like you're hitting the boss here up here, so you should stack up here. So once you've figured out your potential spot with arrows or non-arrows, you're stacking. 2s stack first because the boss will target you or could target you, and if you miss a stack, you're just dead. So very important that 2s stack first, then dodge in and out. This iteration is quite fast for 2s, and this is where I personally, when I was progging this fight, struggled the most, is dodge in and out, and as soon as in and out happens, you're getting ready to place your towers. 3s are baiting their towers. You are getting ready to place their towers. So go. As soon as in and out happens, go. And this is very important. I'm going to pull this. Where you're placing your tower is super incredibly important for 2s. You're not placing your towers on the ring where we're like saying we're beaking at you. 1s and 3s place your tower. No. 2s are going to place their tower on this lovely strip here, and I'm going to try and zoom in a little bit to give you some. So this is a picture I just took, and actually Edalya took it from me because he's wonderful. And you are specifically actually going to try and put it within the first 3 of these. So you're looking at the floor, and because you want to make sure that people get melee positions. So you want to place your towers in this long brick-like pattern beside the thin brick pattern here. And the reason for that is that this position, or these bricks, will give you the closest without clipping the middle people. And as well as it's going to give people melee uptime. So you, once again, don't want to place it on the ring, but you want to place it in the first three kind of squares. I say 3 as a generous offer because that's max melee for people. If you do it 4th, your melees will scream at you. So try not to do that. But the first 3 is a generous offer that they can hit max melee and still catch your tower. So very important to just kind of be close to the first 3 towards Nidhogg. And when I'm counting 3, I'm 1, 2, 3, right? So you want to place your tower for 2s here. And then once again, not too far so it doesn't clip the people in the middle, and not too far outwards so you're in Narnia, and once again your melee people are going to scream at you.
Yeah, this position is quite tight by default, where if you're not on that solid brick line like we used to talk about, if you shift even a little bit closer to the thin brick, you're clipping middle, and if you are not on that alpha marker, Like you sit left or right of that one, you're getting hit by the tower, you're getting flung into the wall.
Yeah,
Positioning is tight for twos.
but positioning is tight for twos. And alpha's there usually for everybody to be actually on alpha and respect that, and so that twos can have space to drop in, so that people can have melee uptime. It's just good habit to just always constantly know where you're dropping your stuff for twos. So you're going to drop your towers for twos, then you're going to return back to the stack. Very important to return back. I hate this. You're going to return back to alpha here.
You're not streaming your toolbox right now?
Of course I'm not. What? Are you sure about that?
Yes. We're looking at the Google Doc at the moment.
In Discord?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. My bad. Sorry, folks. I'm terrible technology person. Yeah. So the alpha marker here is everyone's gonna stack on that because remember twos. He can target twos with a stack marker, and you just don't want to get caught with that stack marker. Once you hit the stack marker, you're going to dodge in and out, and then twos are going to catch just like ones. You're going to go and catch your east-west tower. See, twos already pre-positioning. And I said this earlier. It is important for you to anticipate the next mechanic and the next move, and simming does really help because it happens really fast when you first do it, and the towers will spawn, and if you're not next to the tower, you will probably miss it. So twos are soaking those third towers there, east and west, right? The east tower is soaking the east, the west tower is soaking west, and then you're dodging your in and out again, and then you're baiting. Okay. So those are twos. Twos, you stack twice. Very important. Twos, you stack twice because the boss can target you twice. and you will die if you do not stack. And he accidentally picks you. You will also kill other people if you don't stack, because that stack is a very heavy hitting stack. And that's where we will put our mitigations on. So with that stack, I just wanted to iterate. So when does that stack happen? It actually happens on the Lash and Nash cast bar, the snapshot. So when you're thinking about Reprisal, Adolf, Heart of Light, Faint, all those other things, if you are following any UR's MIDI, if you are supposed to put it on the stack, you are putting on the Lash and Nash cast bar, and it will snapshot the damage for the stack. So just a FYI what you are looking for. Yes, the Lash and Nash is the in and out, but the damage comes from the cast bar. Kind of interesting. Okay, last but not least, we are going to go through threes movements. I love three movements. I can't tell you how I enjoy it. Well, so once you figure out your position, you're stacking immediately. And you are only going to stack once. You're stacking immediately. You're going to dodge the in and out. So you're going to dodge the in and out. Or out and in this iteration. Then you're going to catch towers. Immediately you're going to catch towers. And then you're going to bait. Very nice, very comfy, very cozy. Because after you bait, you just stay out there. You don't return to the stack. You don't do any movements. This is the permutation that requires the least amount of movements. And if you talk to any caster, they'll say they love threes. So threes is the permutation they want. Most casters want. Because all they do after is they just place their tower. And then they dodge in and out, and they are done. So they're going to wait for the cast bar Lash and Nash. They're currently placing their towers here. They place their towers. They place their towers. Boom. Then they're doing in and out again. And then they're pretty much done the mechanic. It's very, very simple. They catch towers. They stack, they catch towers, and then they place their towers, and then they're done for the entire mechanic. So that's why I love threes. they're so nice. Oh, perfect. Get the Lashes, get the fuck out. Lashes lick his feet. However you want to remember it, by all means, if you have a better way of remembering it, please do that. Please take up whatever you can to memorize it. Okay. Somehow I lost my lesson plan for a second here. So, Drakenlance. Okay. After you do the ins and outs, main tanks, make sure you make sure you don't cleave anybody. So tanks who are getting autos, you're gonna get 2 autos after these Lash and Dash. Okay. It's super important for that you are aiming yourself towards yellow markers, because all the other markers. Sorry, I'm just trying to. They don't show it. Awesome. They don't show it. So you will just point yourself to yellow markers. You're gonna take 2 autos, and then the boss will do Drakenlance. So Drakenlance is an attack that is a frontal conal short AoE, right? That's pointed on a player. And this is like, oh, you did first and second and third in line, you did all those die from grace mechanics perfectly, you're feeling good, then you're not paying attention to the boss hitbox, the boss turns to you, smack. It is 100% are you awake check, because he will turn to you and he will smack you with it, and it'll kill you immediately. Then you will fail the next mechanic. So Drakenlance, you can range can outrange them, and it just kills so many people. I've had so many prog points where we're so excited that we've done the towers and the baiting correctly, and then bam, he turns to somebody who definitely wasn't paying attention to his hitbox, and does that frontal clonal cleave, and then they're dead, and then we wipe to the next mechanic. So definitely is a mechanic or attack that snooze kills a lot of players, and whatnot. So I always do the call out I usually do is 2 autos, yellow is bad. All players' responsibility is to watch Drakenlance, and you can outrange them range. Okay? So once we get Drakenlance down, it is time for tower preparation. Now, I honestly don't really love the setup here, but it's supposed to be healer 1, maintain M1. I don't know why there's a physical range here. I don't know why there's a bard here, but it's healer 1, M1, main tank R1. Again, don't know why there's a caster here. I feel like
it's because this toolbox is a double caster comp.
Yeah. So it doesn't quite. Yeah. Anyways, it's supposed to be healer 1, melee 1 on the. This is your static spot. This is your starting spot. Main tank, range 1, northwest, and then southwest should be off tank R2, and then healer 2, M2 on southeast. So these very confusing, but you should just be able to memorize your static spots. This is the tower that you are going to soak if you have 2 poles in your tower. Everyone has a default tower, and range players, you do not move them. Had some funky spots, but that's okay. So this is where it's kind of hard for melee players. Tricks that I recognize that. So these towers spawn, right? They can have 1 pillar, they can have 2 pillars, they can have 3 pillars, they can have 4 pillars. Each pillar indicating how many players it is needed for the tower to be soaked properly, or we all die. So who is going to adjust for these 3 and 4 pillars? So the adjusters are melee players. So that's tanks and melees. And I guess the fake melee here. So if you end up fake meleeing a fight, you need to know how to adjust. So all the other towers will have a minimum of 1 pillars. So who gets to stay? It's the range players. Yay, we get to stay and coast for just a little bit. When you are getting ready to adjust for towers, don't stand in the middle of your default tower. Highly recommend don't do that. You have 5 seconds to get to the correct tower or you wipe. So very important to cheat towards the middle when these pillars or towers are forming and you are leaving. You're going to check your own first. Always check your default. Do you need to stay? If you have 2 pillars, you are staying. If you have only 1 pillar, you need to leave. Okay, 2 or more, you stay at your default pillar. Default tower, sorry. 1 or less, you're leaving. Very important. And if you're following this, you're looking left, then right, then cross the street. So, I'm going to just iterate this. Bard is fake melee. Okay. He's going to look at his tower. It's going to be a 1. He needs to adjust. He's going to look left, facing the boss. He's going to look at the tower over here. If the tower has 3, he's going to go to it. If he has 2, he ignores it. Okay? 2 or 1, he ignores it. Okay? He's going to look at the 1 tower over here. Then if there's only 1 or 2 over there, he looks at the right tower, which is southwest. He's going to look. Oh, this also has 1 or 2 pillars in it. He doesn't want that one. He doesn't want to. That means that, and there's a high chance, that means that because those 2 towers, after he looks at his own, because of those 3 towers are not his to soak, the bard will adjust across. So this is the rule that you will follow when you are adjusting. Look left, look right, cross the street. Okay? Left, right, cross the street. Everyone and their parents have told you to look left, right before crossing the street. So you're going to go and get ready to soak. Sprint is free, and honestly, if you are not good at counting, you need to have sprint on this because 5 seconds is not a lot of time. Not a lot of time when you have to adjust. So be very cheat. So 3 things for melees. Cheat closer to the middle. Check your own tower. Look left, right before you cross. And hit sprint. Because you will not get a second chance. You will not get any more time. Once you soak your tower, melees, get the fuck out of there. So you're going to go to blue markers. You're going to go east to west. It doesn't matter which one. Don't cross through middle. But you're going to, once you soak your tower, you need to get out. So remember, we're saying that the clone will spawn and he will target somebody. This is the iteration where he has targeted somebody even though I am so close to the middle. So once you soak your towers, just get the fuck out of dodge. Go to blue markers. And then tanks get ready to go to red markers or middle, whatever is, because you don't want to be baiting the Nidhogg clones, so you don't want to be anywhere near them. But you also can't go to the red markers because tanks will be dropping their tank busters potentially near there. So if you are in the way, you will die. So just go to blue markers as soon as the tower. You're always moving as quick as you can. Now let's talk about the range players. What's up? Oh, I thought.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask a question. Is
Sure.
now a good time? So, in the Tessin video,
yeah,
I know that it's EU, but I don't think it's pertinent for this. They talk about potentially during the 1, 2, 3 towers. They talk about if you are the south 1 tower.
Okay.
When it's your turn to soak the 3 tower and it's out then in, they talk about potentially using sprint there. Is that required?
I don't think it's required because I catch that tower as a caster and I never use sprint. Because if you use
sprint tower as a tank without sprint as well.
Yeah. You can go around and through the boss as quick as you can without doing sprint. If you are learning this fight and you are missing the tower south, yes, use sprint as a tool, right? But that means that later on during towers, if you are melee, you got to be. And I think I honestly, this is what I truly believe. I think melees have a harder time with the 1, 2, 3 towers than the like first in line
Yeah.
towers.
Enumeration towers is a much tighter, harder movement check for melees who will have to adjust, and that includes the tanks. So saving sprint for that when you're new, trying to get to the enumeration tower you need to be at, I would say is better. I think at least to mention this, but the stack marker for Lash and Nash does snapshot exactly on the cast bar. So as soon
Yes.
as that disappears, you can start immediately moving. If you know you're a 1 and you need to go soak the 3 tower that's coming up, as soon as Lash Nash, Nash Lash, whatever, as soon as that cast bar disappears, start moving.
It looks funny
Okay.
because the animation is so late. Lash and
Yes.
Nash
When I'm in
cast bar
here on
goes,
Dancer,
it hits you, and then you're like it finishes, and then I'm already actually running to, if I'm the third tower, I'm actually just jogging, like just walking to the third tower, and it looks like I took the stack solo because the animation is so delayed, right?
yeah. I am when I'm Dancer in here and I go from north and I need to go soak an east-west tower, like ones or threes or whatever, I will en avant to it immediately, and it looks like I dropped the stack marker on the tower person.
Yeah.
But it's snapshotted on the cast bar, so it's fine.
That's a good question though. That's an excellent question. Obviously, you as a player will know your weaknesses. If you have weaknesses doing the third, then absolutely use the sprint. If you have weakness in doing your tower soaks, then use sprint there. Sprint is free, but you just can't use it on both because as the 60-second cooldown, it won't be back up. So just kind of use it as whoever you are. Do know that if you are with a scholar, and that second stack, by the way, so I'm a scholar in this, and for mitigation, I also, for the second stack, I will have expedient there. So it's like a free sprint. So most of the time I just tell the people who I am with, you don't need to use sprint. I give you expedient. It's free. So you can expedient and then you can save your sprint for later. But I understand you might not get it if you have a Sage player. I understand that is a possibility. So just keep that in mind. Let's talk about ranges. I want to talk about this tower. So we soaked our tower. That's awesome. Looks like it was 3-3 here. They did their left, right, and then they ended up in the same conclusion, or they looked at their own default tower and they ended up staying and whatever. So after melee's fuck offs, tanks will actually go in to trying to circle around and grab the tether, and we'll talk about that. Edalya can talk about more about the tank nuances for that, but I'm going to just talk about range real quick. Range, your job is to stay put, and the same iteration, the clone will stop and turn around and lift up their weapon. As soon as you see that, you can go to blue markers. Now, one of the clone will have a tether. If you are paying attention and you see that clone does not get moved right away where the other clones are moving, that means there's a high chance that one of your clone is a tether. You can go, please go immediately to blue markers. Again, this is a test of your reflex, because the faster you go to blue markers, the faster the tank can see it, and the faster they can grab it. Because if you stay on the intercards, or you stay underneath the ad, it is so hard for the tanks to get it. Very important. They actually have to go out of max melee to try and grab the tether. They probably won't grab the tether because you will be standing underneath the clone. So very important to just go as soon as you see that you are a tethered clone and not a baiting clone. You must go immediately to blue markers so that the tanks can grab it, they can see it, and grab it immediately. So very, very important to be mindful of the iterations for range. Now, Ira, if you want to talk about tanks, please go ahead.
So we can, just for a little bit of things at the beginning, for tanks for the Die from Grace.
Okay.
As soon as the Stygian hits the ground, he's targetable. Right. This is a full aggro dump, so main tank whoever's taking autos provoke off tank, you either can take your stance off or aggro check yourself. Depending on the tank comp, if you're with a Dark Knight, they might take it from you at the end. So check your stance, check your aggro, because we don't want Nidhogg facing somewhere we don't want him to. You need to face him north to alpha. He's going to auto you 3 times. You could use a short mitt, because I think on average the tank that's taking autos is going to be the one who's using invuln, but that's not always guaranteed. Just always check your DSR mitt to be sure. The tank, whoever tank is taking autos, you are going to be the last one to pre-position, because you need to face him north. Once a dive from Grace, once that cast bar starts, he will lock in his position for the rest of the phase until the tank busters at the very end. And it's important that we face him north, as close to perfect north as you can, so that arrows, 1s, 2s, and 3s, more so 1s and 3s, have the position, because they are using the boss's ring. And if that ring is misaligned, it's going to be harder. And so you are sitting up there, and you're the last one to fill. You're going to wait for everybody else to fill, and then you're going to go into the slot that it's open, because everybody else is going to be near there and is going to shuffle around, and you'll just fill in the spot that's missing. So you're always going to be last, so get used to watching where other people are going. After that, your mechanic is the same as everybody else. Check your reprisals, check your party mitts in the mitt sheet, and we get all the way through back to all the way up to enumeration towers, like every other number is going to go, right? You're always checking left, right. You also have to check left, right, then through. If everybody follows this, it will always work, even if there are multiple adjusters. If everybody follows the left, right cross, it will always work. If a tower enumeration ends up wrong, then somebody didn't check left, right, center the right way. So as long as you perfectly follow that, it'll always work. Now, for soul tethers, this shit hits hard. For the time that this came out, it was the hardest hitting tank buster in the game. This shit still hurts. Where you have probably 1 mitt margin of error, and you are dead. Tanks have a lot of work to do in a very short time span, where you have 1 tether on the ad, 1 tether coming from the boss. I think in a full PF setting where you can't communicate with your tank, it's run around clockwise in the boss to try and grab a tether. I don't think that's successful all the time, and it's quite difficult. I think trying to grab closest to you works. If you can communicate with your tank, that's always the best, but I do think NAUR is just rotate clockwise to the nearest tether. If you have the eyes for it, if you're comfortable, if like the more you get into it, like main tank in Northeast, if you can spot that clone has a tether, just sit there and try and wait for that range to move and take it, right? Same with the off tank. If they can spot that their clone has that tether, just sit there, try and grab it. Don't go for middle, because now you're making the main tank cross the arena for this. And that he probably doesn't have time to catch that unless he pops sprint.
Okay, but
More
I
than
will
likely.
say that there is an off chance that the Nidhogg clone from middle is targeted onto a tank that is less favorable.
Yes, so
And
there
that
are
means
incredibly
you just have to
cursed
fucking
tether
run.
starts. Yes, the Nidhogg, the center Nidhogg could target the off tank, but off tank's clone could also have the tether. These are incredibly cursed permutations that you just have to deal with, right? So for tanks, if you can get really good at the enumeration towers, save sprint for tethers. If you can, because that shit is tighter, because whoever, depending on your tank comp, one of you is kitchen sinking. And this is also a burst. You have a lot to do.
Okay, I do want to add. I have so when you are thinking, let's say you're the tank that's kitchen sinking, okay? And I had somebody come up to me and ask me this question when we were raiding, and they're like, I am like quadruple weaving for my mints. This is like so not fair. There's a burst. I'm sacking. So I also said that this might help. Pop your long cooldowns during Draken Lance, your Rampart, your Nebula, your Guardian, your Vengeance, your, and just Shadow Wall. Pop your long cooldowns as soon as Draken Lance and get ready to resolve your show. Resolve your adjusted towers as needed. Then when you're grabbing tether, pop your short ones. Okay? It will be up in time for your soul tether to go off. Sorry, I just wanted to add that.
Yes, you can definitely do you can pre-pop. If you want to go with your burst on time, you have to pre-pop. if you forgot to do that, priority is mitigation. Sometimes when I didn't pre-pop like I'm supposed to because I'm watching other things, I just quad weave. It doesn't matter. The damage we have against this boss is ludicrous. I was in a PF last night that killed him. He was already at 1 HP before that last Dragon Lance even went out. Your damage, if people are doing their job, is not needed. As long as you get it out at some point, your priority is the mitigation if you didn't get that pre-pop going. Try to pre-pop, it makes it much easier, but your priority is your invul and the bits you pass or your kitchen sink. That is top priority. You are dead without one of them. Like if you miss a ramp, that shit probably kills you. It hurts. And now, like Elise said earlier, tanks have 3 spots to drop tethers. There's 2, we have 3 spots. Red markers or middle. It doesn't matter which one you pick, just pick one. The boss, we will deal with boss facing after that. The priority is get to a spot where there aren't people and you're ready to take your tank buster.
Well, yeah, it kind of does matter because main tank
will-
should favor north spot.
Well,
South
main
off
favor
tank
south
should
because-
favor a spot, but if you can't get south fast enough because you
Yeah.
have tethers against middle is an option.
The,
And I
the
would
priority is just get to a spot where there isn't somebody else. And if you're there first, it doesn't matter what spot it is. The other tank should pick something else because those
Okay.
tethers are tight.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
If the main tank can get to north first or south, because you're going to be facing them off south after this, you do that or pick middle. It doesn't matter because I've seen tanks
That's
go
fair. That's
all
fair.
which way. Because if you have to go grab south tether, pulling that north is a bit of a chore.
That's true. That's true. That's
So
true.
you either go south or go middle.
That's fair. That's
right.
fair.
In
Yeah.
terms of other cursed tethers, it could be awful, right? But these are spots that are safe for you. Now, this is super important for tanks, where I've taught this to my own static, where you cannot look at other people.
Well, you have
because of
to
how-
look at the other tank. You have to be able
Yes.
to give them room. Let's say you got the Nidhogg tank targets you, right? And you get this tether, and so you're just coasting. You're awesome, but your poor off tank has to run all the way north, grab that tether, and then honestly, I have seen main tanks. You're right, Ida. I've seen main tanks see that and actually move their tank buster south so that off tank can have.
Yeah.
Alpha or middle. So yes, you're not looking at anyone else. You're just paying attention. But do pay attention
to your co-tank if you can.
take care of your
What I
co-tank.
mean by that is you cannot care where the healers and DPS are. You can't. If they are on red with you or in the middle,
just kill them.
kill them. Do not move for them because you risk killing other people who are in the right spot. That is their punishment for being in the wrong spot because of how intense this is on tanks. I'm dead serious. You will kill people in the wrong spot. You cannot care that they are there. And this will come up frequently in other phases, such like part 5 and part 6. If DPS are in the wrong spot, just fucking kill them. They shouldn't be there in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a common problem in phase 6 where you're doing tank busters and you have to go far, and then you just have this DPS, this summoner. I'm just picking on the summoner, but you just have this summoner in standing with you, and you're like, you're gonna die there, buddy, and then sure enough they die, and they had vow. But there's nothing you can do.
The person you have to pay attention to the most is your co-tank for later phases, but the position and the movement up until part 6 vow, but we're not talking about that, so you'll have to pay. Even then, you don't have to. You just go to the middle when you're supposed to. The positioning of the tank of the DPS and healers is inconsequential to you for the majority of this fight. You do not care. Do your job, and if somebody's there, kill them. Because you have already a lot to do for later phases. You cannot spend brain energy thinking about other people's positions, because that will get you killed, or you'll kill other people who are in the right spot.
And yeah.
The
last thing I want to talk about is this Dragonlance. So after Soul Tethers.
Hold on.
Okay.
Sorry, I was processing because I'm still waking up. Tanks, you cannot sit on the enumeration tower looking at your tether saying, which one do I take? Much like Elise said, the DPS need to fuck off, the melees, you are the same. Because you could end up taking that bait. I've seen tanks who sit there and like, well, shoot, I'm looking for tethers, which one am I taking? I'm popping mid. So they take that bait from me and go straight down the middle, they kill the person on the other side. right? You still need to move off and pretty much immediately start moving to move these tethers to not bait from the fizz range that you're with, the fizz or the caster. So identifying tethers as quickly as possible makes this mechanic much easier.
Oh, I
So-
also just say instead of going to blue markers like the melees do, just take a step inside the hitbox. You're gonna
Yep.
have to get maybe cross the entire hitbox, but you're gonna have to be in the hitbox to
Yep.
potentially grab a tether because you spin faster when you're inside. But that's my joke.
Yeah, I just take a few steps in to the hitbox just to make sure I don't take it from the fizz range that I'm with. That's seems like it's kind of a unnecessary movement, but it's completely necessary because if I just sit there, I'm taking it from that fizz, and then it's my fault that baited clone is going straight through. The only time I don't do that is when I can see that it's the tether, and then I just sit there and wait to take it. But that's only because I've seen this phase 1,000 times. So just take a few steps in. Make sure you don't take it from your caster, and then, like Lisa's gonna say, you're gonna end up facing the boss south
Main
after
tank.
your tank buster.
Main tank.
Main
should
tank.
face-
Whoever has
should-
aggro, you're gonna face the boss south. The only person that should be south is the main tank, and at least we'll talk about how that goes from there.
The reason why you're facing south is because the final Drekken Lance is not targeted on a player. It will always face south. So main tank after your tank buster, you can just face the boss south. You can even, if you're north, get one auto, run through, cleave, and then do the rest of your 5 autos south.
Mitigations are free depending on which tank has aggro while you're taking this. Those autos hurt. So when I'm in here on warrior, I home gang, and then when I'm taking auto south, I pop vengeance, I pop bloodwedding. Like, make yourself, those autos do hurt if you have some available to you.
Yeah, because you won't need it till
You don't need it until part 5.
Part
And even then,
5.
on average, you're invulning, so you don't need it until part 6.
And the timing for part 5 is 2 minutes for the tank buster, so you have some space to pop your mitigations there. Healer should be supporting you as well. Healer should be passing you stuff for those autos, because we're not going to pass you stuff for the soul tether, but we should take care of you for those autos. So healer should be on top of that as well. Pay attention to who's main tank and pass healing as well. Especially if it's a warrior who's invulning, get ready for that Betty or that protraction or fairy and stuff like that. So or Heima. Yeah, so face the boss south. The boss will do a final Draken Lance, always south. So only main tank has to get out of the way. And the reason why you're facing south is to give people melee's preposition again. This is just for consistencies. I mean, I've seen tanks not do this, and then just know that if your tank doesn't face the boss south, you should be paying attention to the Draken Lance. Because if you are a poor melee trying to get a rear positional and he turns to face south and cleaves you, that will be your fault, and you will be
If your
down.
tank is facing him north, be mad at him and say, please face it south.
Well, I'm just saying that even if he doesn't, just know that this Draken Lance will kill you if you are not paying attention still. So it will always face south. So if you're in poor melee getting positionals, get the fuck out of the way. Get a flank positional or whatever as soon as that Draken Lance comes out. But yeah, it's very important to know that. I've seen a lot of melees, poor melees. Tanks are doing this and they're facing north. He's getting north autos, and then the poor melee does not realize that his autos have finished, and he has turned south. And guess what? Slap, and they're dead. And then they're gonna be like, oh, they just built so much gauge for eyes. And they're gonna be a very sad bean. So that is the end. If anyone has any questions, I am more than happy to answer them. But if not, I hope you have a happy simming. Once again, I will be posting the... if you miss it, I will be posting in the week 3 Nidhogg lecture. So
One quick.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
What are, and this goes for the whole fight, what are the pot timings for this fight?
Oh, I forgot to talk about the pods. Thank you so
Because
much.
sometimes people do it at the end of phase 3, I've seen.
Yes,
But
that
I'm
is
interested in like what's the rest of the fight too.
That's the actually because when this fight came out, phase 3 was one of the hardest DPS checks. You would pot as soon as the towers fall. That will realign your burst. The enumeration towers fall. So if your burst comes a little bit before, everyone will realign their burst at enumeration towers. That is habit. However,
Yeah.
I've seen people not even care about pots because the damage is so fucking high.
Yeah, I have stopped potting in that phase in PF because we kill it so fast. If you're in a spot where like a lot of people are new, then probably pot, I would say. But yes, it is it's pot as the towers fall, is how I've heard it. If you have a good Thornton kill time, like in part 2, where you're waiting for the enrage, your burst comes up a little before enumeration towers, in which case you hold for a little bit, and the towers fall, then you start putting it out. That's with good kill times. If you giga kill Thornton in part 2, your burst isn't even up until the tank busters are done. And shit sucks.
So so the normal pot time when this fight was out is pot in phase 3, pot and you hold your pot to phase 6, the beginning of phase 6, and then you pot at phase 7. So but like I would say sometimes pot for prog in Doth in phase 5, sometimes people die. So potting so that you can see phase 6 is also like okay too, because it's for if you need to get more phase 6 practice and people are died to Doth for whatever reason, right? In phase 5, potting there is going, your pot will be available at phase 6 Doth. So that's a hard DPS check too with the meteors, right? So usually it's those windows that people pot in there. So
If you pot at the beginning of phase 6, does it? It's not available for the beginning of phase 7, right? Is it sometime in
If
the
you-
middle of phase 7?
The beginning of phase 7 is not a 2-minute. Because you 2-minute at the end of part 6, and I
Yes.
don't think you get your 2 minutes back at the beginning of part 7.
it actually comes up in the phase 6 again, but you actually hold it for phase 7 because obviously phase 7 you want to have an easier DPS check because that's the ending. So if you don't need to pot the second time in phase 6 to get to phase 7, you would hold your pot for phase 7.
Next time you have a 2-minute in part 7, the pot is there, I believe.
Yes. So you can pot in phase 6. However, it's like, would you rather have an easier DPS check in phase 7?
Yeah.
Or
In terms
if you
of, like,
know you're
where-
struggling in phase 6, maybe you should think about potting the second time in phase 6. So it's kind of that's a really hard question because it will be with your group. I know that when Ida and I did it, we actually at the very beginning of our first clears of DSR, we actually potted twice in phase 6. Just because we were kind of a little bit low on DPS, we were just kind of getting used to the fight and stuff like that. When we were doing reclears, we killed Hraesvelgr so early that as soon as he landed on the ground for the last vow pass, he just died. He just went, he just cracked his legs and died. So we ended up holding that potting in phase 7, and it is just much comfier there. So
Makes sense.
Yeah, in terms of where PF is going to do it, if you end up going into PF, it's end of part 3, start of part 6, somewhere in 7.
And if you want to, I know that I have a massive parsing friend for DSR who is a 99er Gunbreaker. I can also DM them for DSR, and I think he actually has specific Gunbreaker pot timings. Like, that is not even remotely anywhere where anyone is. It's just very comfy for him, and he's just been able to map it. So I can go ahead and DM him specifically for min-maxing pot times. But I guess, like, at this point, you can just pot for prog.
Yeah, I'm not really interested in min-maxing right now.
Yeah, then the part 3 pot, the beginning of part 6, somewhere in part 7, that's the standard. That'll be plenty of damage from you to clear as long as you're pressing your buttons and not dying.
Yeah, the DPS check became so easy in Thornton. They actually, when we were doing it, the Warden's DPS check was pretty tight. And then afterwards, it's just kind of like, oh, we can really kill Thornton, but we're having struggle with Nidhogg, so let's pot on Nidhogg instead. And so that was the ended up progression of that. Yeah. Anyways, good question. Any other questions? Concerns?
In the toolbox for towers, it says that you go like clockwise of your meteor position. Is that clockwise of your default meteor position, or does that include if you have to adjust?
You're talking about enumerations, yeah? Like the final towers on the four corners.
Yeah, that one.
That's clockwise from starting position. All perspective movements are from the starting position where you.
So that's what it says.
You will always default to these
so you
corners
can,
at the very beginning.
Yeah. It says clockwise and then counterclockwise and then diagonal. I find that confuses a lot of people. I just say look
So,
left, right, and cross the street.
And that's when you're looking at the bus, left, right, cross. Once like the final towers are done, because the boss will start autoing, and then there's a Dragonlance, right? Like Lee said, you are preparing to go to these spots as soon as you can, because this is where you're going to move from if you have to. If you're not in this spot by the time enumeration spawn, you're going to have a hard time seeing where you got to go in case you have to adjust. Of course, after dodging a Dragonlance, but be near these starting spots at the very least.
Because you have to check your own. You have to check your own tower first. I know that we talk about left.
You always have to check your own tower.
Check your own tower, left, right, and then cross. Yeah, check your own tower first.
Because if it's two or more,
I hope that makes sense.
Not moving.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. I know. A lot of people tell me that you probably noticed my callouts in Sanctity Dark Knight Jumps where I say left of the fidget spinner, right of the fidget spinner, because I've had people say to me, clockwise and counterclockwise is confusing. And I was like, okay, let me adjust my callouts for that. So, and then I had somebody say, I think it was you, or somebody said that they looked at the fidget spinner on the outside, and I was like, wait, I didn't expect that. So it is. It is a little bit difficult anyway. Good question. Okay. If no further questions, I'm going to archive this recording.